सत श्री अकाल एंड वेलकम टू सीजे सिद्धू शो। जिस तरह तुहानूं पता ही है कि एवरी थर्सडे सीजे सिद्धू शो दे विच तुहाडी किसी ना किसी पॉलिटिशियन नाल गलबात कराई दी है, डॉक्टर्स नाल, कम्यूनिटी एक्टिविस्ट नाल गल कराई दी है। जिस तरह तुहानूं पता ही है कि BC लिबरल पार्टी की लीडरशिप का जिहड़ा हैगा आ दौर शुरू हो गया आ ते उस दे विच कैवन फाल्कन अपना नाम उन्होंने अनाउंस किया आ फॉर ए बिड टू बी ए लीडर ऑफ BC लिबरल पार्टी। तो उन्होंने इसलिए दो को चेयर्स पिक किए हैं। वन इज़ Puneet Sandhar and Dianne Watts. They are very well known, very accomplished ladies, and they served time in the community. So I'm going to introduce each of them, and our phone lines are open. You can call us, ask them question directly. Dianne Watts don't need a much introduction. She's serving right now at a corporate boards executive at a Canfor and West Shore terminals. She's also a political contributor to Global TV, CBC Radio, CKNW. She served briefly as a member of parliament for South Surrey White Rock, and the most famous term for her was serving for 9 years as a mayor of Surrey, and she was the first female in Surrey to serve as a mayor. She is second generation Canadian, and as you all know, in March 2015, Watts won the party's nomination by acclamation for a member of parliament, and as you guys know, she was the 4th best mayor in the world according to the 2010 World Mayor Prize. Welcome, Dianne.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And the second wonderful lady with us today is Puneet Sandhar. Again, she don't need much introduction, very well known in the community. She is a lawyer and partner at Sanjhatv Sandhar Law Group. Puneet was also a candidate in 2017 for BC Liberal Party for Surrey Panorama. She served a community very well as a director of South Asian Business Association, Board of Legal Services, Society of BC, City of Surrey Board of Variants, director of Punjab Digital Library, member of Surrey Newton Rotary Club. If I give a full introduction to these two ladies, I think that my interview will be spend all the time talking about their credentials. Welcome, Puneet.
Thank you very much.
So first of all, I will start with Dianne. Dianne, you ran as a leadership race for BC Liberal Party last time, and now you are not only supporting Kevin Falcon, but also a co-chair for the campaign.
Correct.
Tell me your reason why you're supporting Kevin.
Well, I've known Kevin for almost 25 years, and I've watched him grow and evolve into the person he's been today. And he has been in the private sector. He's been a minister, senior minister of health, of transportation, and as well deputy premier. And now he was also in the private sector the past 8 years. So he's got a lot of experience that he can bring to the table. When we look at where the BC Liberal Party is today and where it needs to go, we need somebody that has that experience and that also knows how to get the job done. And certainly when I was mayor and working with Kevin on a number of different fronts, we worked together very closely, and we got a lot of things done, and a lot built for the city of Surrey and throughout the province of British Columbia. So he's a very strong candidate, and I'm here to support him along with my other co-chair, Puneet.
So Dianne ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਪਿਛਲੇ 25 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਕੈਵਨ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ, ਦੇ ਵਰਕ ਕਲੋਜ਼ਲੀ ਔਨ ਅ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਕਪੈਸਿਟੀ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੇਮ question to you, Puneet, in Punjabi. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ?
Well, CJ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ introduction ਚ ਕਿਹਾ that I was one of the candidates in 2017 as well. Party ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇਰ ਦੀ involved ਹੈ. But over time, from what we saw since 2017, then in the past elections that we had, ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ, I think membership ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ British Columbians feel ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ connect ਹੈ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਉਹ missing ਹੈ ਹੁਣ. And with what has happened over the last few years, I think ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਸਾਡੀ, we need a renewal. We need to renew the party. We need to, bring new ideas, fresh blood into the party as well. And at the same time, especially we always keep talking about how Surrey is really important as well. Lower Mainland is really important. Seats ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ lose ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ, in the suburbs. So we need to connect back with the people in the suburbs. We need to understand ਉੱਥੇ issues ਕੀ ਨੇ. Why is it that people felt that BC Liberals could not lead them or govern the province? So all reasons ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, there are new issues. There's affordability issues. There are issues relating to the millennials. There is that understanding of issues of young families, professionals. So being a female myself, ਆਪ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ introduction 'ਚ ਦੱਸਿਆ business owner ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਆਪਣਾ business ਚਲਾਉਣੀ ਹੈ, 2 ਛੋਟੀਆਂ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ. I feel ਕਿ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ we definitely need new ideas, we need new blood, but at the same time ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ you're able to run efficiently as a leader and as a premier of the province, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ experience ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ. So there has to be balance of new ideas and the experience. And Kevin is someone, as Dianne mentioned, has been, and we all know, has governed as well, has managed many portfolios. ਕਿੰਨੇ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ projects ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ time ਤੇ ਕੀਤੇ, and we take pride when we mention about those projects. So he definitely has that experience of being in the government, of understanding the issues. He has an experience as a business owner of running a corporation himself, making tough decisions, and at the same time, ਨਵੇਂ ideas party ਦੇ ਨਾਲ build ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, renewal process ਚੋਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ. So I feel ਕਿ Kevin would be at this time, ਇਸ moment ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ achieve ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, that one person is Kevin.
So ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਸੈਂਡਰ ਐਂਡ ਡਾਇਨ ਵਾਟਸ ਨਾਲ. ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਿਡ ਹੈਗੀ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਸੀ. ਸੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ, ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ. ਸੋ ਡਾਇਨ, as Puneet said in Punjabi, and a lot of people are saying the last election, the BC Liberal Party lost. And a lot of people are saying what Puneet said as well. They're losing a connection with people, grassroots people. Why do you think that happened? What was the reason? Like being a politician and a political party, you can't survive without connecting with people.
Oh, absolutely right. And you need to understand fully what people are dealing with in their lives. And I think that the Liberal Party back then stopped listening. And that was very difficult when people were saying, there's an issue with affordability, housing affordability, daycare, there's issues with transportation. And so, and just that disconnect. So their focus was on the economy, which rightly so, you should be focused on the economy, making sure it's strong and you have jobs. That's very important. But also too, you can't forget that there's a lot of people that are struggling, that need help and that need support. There's a lot of young families that are trying to get into business. They're trying to make sure that their kids are going to good schools. And so there was a lot of different issues there that weren't at the forefront. And also too, when we look at the environment and climate change and all of those things, we needed a really good, robust strategy around all of those things, and not just be narrow-minded in where we were focused. So we did lose touch, and so now it's time that we re-engage, and you have to have the right person at the helm in order to do that.
So ਮੈਂ ਡਾਇਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ being a political party ਵੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ, ਐਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਸੋ ਬੇਸਿਕਲੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੰਪੈਕਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਦੀ, ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਇਕੋਨਮੀ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਡੇ ਕੇਅਰ ਦਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਇੰਪਲੋਇਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਉਸ 'ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਕਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ. ਸੋ ਪੁਨੀਤ, ਕਮਿੰਗ ਬੈਕ ਟੂ ਦ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਰੀਨਿਊਅਲ ਅਗੇਨ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਰੀਨਿਊ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਆਈਡੀਆਜ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਨਾਮ ਹੀ ਚੇਂਜ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਥਿੰਕਿੰਗ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਚੇਂਜਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਨੇਮ ਐਜ਼ ਵੈਲ ਸੋ what is it what when you say a renewal in a simple Punjabi ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਦਾ renewal ਕਰਨਾ
Well, basically, it's solving all the issues that Dianne and I just mentioned ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ how do you connect with the masses ਤੁਸੀਂ suburbs ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ problems ਕਿਵੇਂ understand ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ you know ਆਪਣੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ government ਦਾ focus ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ economy strong ਬਣਾਉਣੀ ਹੈ which is good ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ jobs ਹੋਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ but a lot of times people felt what good is a good job if I'm still not able to afford a house ਜੇ ਹਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ you know ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ affordable living ਨਹੀਂ provide ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ so renewal means trying to understand all those issues renewal also means ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ you know fresh ideas fresh perspective ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ because the fact is we have new issues now the issues are some of the new issues are different than what we had a decade or a decade and a half ago so ਉਹ ਨਵੇਂ issues ਨੂੰ solve ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਨਵੇਂ perspective ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਨਵਾਂ perspective ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਿਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ involve ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ you know ਨਵੇਂ ideas ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਹੋ and at the same time also being more inclusive being more diverse it just doesn't mean ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ you know diversity ਜੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਸੀਂ pick ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ candidates and you just put them in ridings what is important is you give them the support you place them in ridings where you think we can get it back at the same time bringing you know having more women involved because all perspective ਆਪਾਂ daycare for example is a huge issue that we've seen in the last election and the election before as well having trying to see how we can get more women involved in politics or in positions on boards or you know trying to provide them help especially with covid ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ impact ਹੋਇਆ ladies ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ because generally being you know the provider or taking care of the house ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਜੇ ਦੋਨਾਂ parents ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ladies try to stay at home ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਾਂ so how can we solve those issues how can we bring them back economic growth ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ but at the same time ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੀ day to day ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ issues ਨੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ solve ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ and you know ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ involvement diversity ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਓ inclusive ਹੋਵੋ more even tolerance towards all sorts of you know whether it is religious tolerance or tolerance of someone's sexual orientation or from what kind of a background they come from so I think ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ little pieces ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ puzzle ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ
So Dianne she's talking about diversity Puneet and I had a good special edition with Kevin Falcon. He mentioned diversity, women, youth, LGBTQ community. That's very nice to hear that because, and all parties talk about it, bringing in diversity, having more women and youth and ethnic people on the boards. But not much work has been done. How you're going to change that landscape?
Well, you know what? I mean, I find it very interesting because on this campaign that Puneet and I are co-chairing for Kevin, we have a very big voice. And we're very strong women and we're not afraid to say what we think. And what is really good is that they are listening to us because I think they understand, and especially Kevin understands, you know, being married with his very strong wife and 2 daughters there.
That's interesting. You have 2 daughters.
Exactly.
And
we were just talking about it the other day.
Exactly. But you know what? I mean, it gives everybody a different perspective. So the perspective that, you know, Kevin had when he didn't have children and he wasn't married to where he is right now is very different. But also, too, there's the ability to engage. Now, he has a lot of young people on the campaign. He's got, you know, strong women heading up the campaign. He's got a very diverse campaign team in the office. And so what it is, it's about engaging them. And I think you're absolutely correct. It's not just about saying, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. It's about actually doing it and making sure that those people are in those positions where it can make a difference and where it counts.
And making them accountable.
Absolutely.
These all the promises and all the talk
yes.
had to be delivered. Guys like us, media people.
Yes.
We will make sure we will be asking you again these questions.
There's a phrase
Exactly.
that's called in English. It's called "Charity begins at home." You should come and see our campaign too. There's diversity. There's women involved. I mean, you see two co-chairs of two females. There is, as Dianne mentioned, a diverse group of people, all sorts of age groups, and all sorts of fresh ideas, experience, new. It's just that started from his campaign. So that's just a trailer of what he wants BC to be like.
ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਡਾਇਨ ਨਾਲ ਇਹੀ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰੋਮਿਸ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਵੂਮਨ ਦੀ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਐਥਨਿਕ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਪਰ ਉਦੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਉਹ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੈਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਰਿਫਲੈਕਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਲੁੱਕ ਐਟ ਅਸ ਟੂ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਵੈਰੀ ਅਕੰਪਲਿਸ਼ਡ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਸੈਡ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਣਾ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਮੇਕ them accountable. Make a same we are media we will make sure if you promise something you deliver that. ਬਾਕੀ ਡਾਇਨ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਵਨ ਉਹ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਕੈਵਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਿੰਗਲ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਲੋਵਰਡੇਲ ਤੋਂ MLA ਬਣਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ now he's married have 2 daughters so he's more mature and more open and he probably got some experience serving as a business person with Anthem Capital as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean when you're running a business, you're making decisions every day. Sometimes hard decisions as well. Sometimes making tough choices. Sometimes trying to pick and choose what is more important. Keda ਦੋ decisions, ਦੋਵੇਂ tough decisions ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਕਿਹੜਾ better decision ਹੋਏਗਾ. Quick decisions as well. Yes. There's a lot of lives at stake too. So running a province is a kind of a replica of running a corporation as well. You want to make sure ਤੁਸੀਂ within budget run ਕਰੋ. You want to make sure ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ jobs secure ਰਹਿਣ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਰਹਿਣ. You want to make sure that the projects that you're taking on are delivered on time, within budget. So ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ leadership qualities ਨੇ efficiently run ਕਰਨੀ ਕਿਸੇ organization ਨੂੰ ਉਹ qualities ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ as a premier ਵੀ help ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ.
So Dianne, you have a big label of Gordon Campbell with the Kevin Falcon, and NDP is saying as well because he already started attacking. I think maybe I don't know. They're afraid of him. I don't know, but is it a bad thing? Is it another Gordon Campbell, Kevin? What are your take on that?
No, I don't think so. Gordon Campbell was the premier and he had his team back in the day, and Christy Clark, she became premier, had her team. And so I think as each premier comes forward, they're going to have their own team. They're going to have their own ideas because now they're in a leadership role. And so I think that there were some really good things that in the Gordon Campbell era that were done. And if you look at how we led on the environment and climate change, that was Gordon Campbell. And so it's not all bad. There was a lot of things that a lot of infrastructure projects that got built. There was a lot of good things and a very strong economy as well. And and this is where I was saying before, when that has become the focal point, you really now need to look at, okay, we need to incorporate many other things that really affect all of us in our daily life. So there's that transition and that change. So I think you take the good out of your experience, you learn from whatever mistakes that were made, and you make sure that as you go forward they're going to be the very best decisions that you can possibly make.
So Dianne ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ ਤੇ ਗੋਰਡਨ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਦਾ ਲੇਬਲ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਦੂਜਾ ਗੋਰਡਨ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਆ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਪਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੋਹਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਤੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਰਕ ਨੇ ਆਪਦੀ ਮੋਹਰ ਲਾਈ ਹੈ ਇਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਲੀਡਰ ਬਣਨਾ ਹੀ ਵਿਲ ਹੈਵ ਹਿਜ਼ ਓਨ ਸਟੈਂਪ on the policies and stuff ਤੇ ਡਾਇਨ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਗੋਰਡਨ ਕੈਂਬਲ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੋਈ ਮਾੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤੇ এনवायरमेंट ਲਈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਇਕਨੋਮੀ ਵਾਸ ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ ਐਟ that time. what do you take ਆਪਣੇ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਇਸੇ ਸੇਮ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਹੈ?
Well, same as Dianne actually mentioned, I don't know why we keep saying, oh, Gordon Campbell, the time वापस आ जाना, Gordon Campbell, the time वापस आ जाना. Compare the 10 years before Gordon Campbell's era and and then see what all was achieved during that time. Gordon and Christie, given they were the two premiers up until then NDP came back in power. So just to compare karo, look at the infrastructure, just look around where we're sitting right now. City Memorial Hospital, the expansion, Jim Patterson Outpatient Center, South Perry Perimeter Road, Coquihalla Highway, all the highways that, even Portman Bridge, all these things. Is infrastructure development, climate change. He was the one who, initiated carbon tax, which was the first time, I think, not just in North America, in the world. I think he was a leader in bringing that. So just to label as Gordon Campbell era, I don't know, which there's all the good things, and he was the one who was a part of all of these projects. So oh experience jehde change kaam us wele kite ne, when I was talking in the beginning ke experience the fresh ideas, the balance chahida hai, those are all the good experiences we Kevin had during that time and served during that time as well. So this is je hor kuch nahi labda, what else do we have to attack? Okay, let's just say Gordon Campbell era is, I think, what it is.
Yes.
So Dianne, when I talked to Kevin on my special edition when he announced the leadership, I asked, what will be the new renewal BC Liberal? Is it a NDP you will welcome, conservative, green, like all the different? And what are your take on that? Kevin said he will bring everybody.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's why the name change is important. It's going to go to the membership, because it's not just Liberal. There are people from the Green Party. There are people from the Conservative Party. There are people from the NDP that have nowhere to go, and and it's really important to make sure that people have a place to go. Now, if you remember when I was mayor in Surrey, I had a very diverse group, and I had everybody on that entire political spectrum, including some pretty hardcore NDP people, which was fine because it gives a different perspective. So I think when you have a party and you make sure that everyone is welcome, and as long as it doesn't cross lines, you've got to have some parameters in place, of course.
You have to have your policy platform.
Absolutely. But as many voices that you can have come to the table, the better policy making decisions are undertaken. Because there's a lot of different and diverse responses to any type of policy, and everybody looks through it in a very different lens. So I think it makes a party stronger when you've actually opened up to all of the different, the political spectrum. And I would say this as well. I think people are very sick and tired of partisan politics. Yes. They want the job done. They don't want all this bickering and infighting. Yes. They want to look at their lives, and is it getting better? Are there different opportunities for me and for my children? And so, those things are what we need to look at. And it doesn't matter what political party, across the spectrum that you are. The fact of the matter is, it comes down to how we live our lives and what we want for our kids.
Yes. मैं डायन ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਰਿਨਿਊਅਲ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ, ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵਸ ਹੈ, ਲਿਬਰਲਸ ਹੈ, NDP ਹੈ, ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਿੱਚ ਥੋੜੇ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਫ ਕੋਰਸ ਡਾਇਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਪੋਲਿਟਿਕਸ ਹੈ, ਲੋਕੀ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੜਦੇ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਅੱਕੇ ਪਏ ਹੈ। ਐਂਡ what are your comment on the same issue?
Well, BC Liberal Party, ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹੀ ਨਾਮ use ਕਰੀਏ, has always been a Big Ten party. ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ federal liberals ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, federal conservatives ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, people who have environment as their priority, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ. So ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ all of a sudden now we are going to invite everybody. We always had everybody, all of the people who had different affiliations federally, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ part ਸੀਗੇ BC Liberal Party ਦੇ. And the one thing that Kevin wants is ਕਿ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨਾਮ change ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, that is the decision of the membership. So membership ਦੇ ਨਾਲ consult ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਕੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਦੇਣਗੇ Kevin ਨੂੰ, he will listen to that and then he will make a decision. And the other thing that is really important is ਕਿ inclusive hona is one thing as well, and at the same time we also have to think we ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ platform or leader ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ provide ਕਰੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ who is able to beat John Horgan as well, because at the end of the day we all want BC Liberals, we're using the same name jo as ਵੇਲੇ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, that comes back into power so that the province comes back on track as well. So ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ achieve ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਆ, what we believe is with a leader, someone like Kevin, and at the same time, with continuing to make sure that naam jada kalli distraction na howe. It's one of the pieces of what he wants.
Any ideas came forward with the names or
no? The consultation hasn't started yet, right? Hajata Kevin the leadership race hai. This is one of the things on his agenda. Once he's elected and becomes the leader of the party, then he would have the power to then not the power, but I would say the privilege to initiate that discussion.
So Dianne, how you differentiate NDP, the existing ruling party, with your guys' platform? What they are doing good or not so good, and how you guys will do differently?
Well, I think we've seen, as we entered into this pandemic, there was a minority government. And so all three parties, the NDP, the Green Party, and the Liberal Party, came together and started dealing with the pandemic. And it was it rolled out very well. And we had Dr. Bonnie Henry, there was a lot of things going on. Now, once they had the majority, now we've seen everything go sideways. That's a big problem. But also, too, when you look at how we're coming out of the COVID and what we need to do as we go forward, there's going to be some pretty significant initiatives that have to be undertaken. And if I look at the history right now of the NDP, they clearly show that they are not competent enough to do that. And we just have seen, today, they're all of the cruise ships. Now you look at our tourism industry, right?
Yes.
And you've got to realize, this is the largest industry that we have in this entire province. $2.4 billion, no cruise ships are coming into our port. You've got 20,000 people that depend on this. You've got the supply chain. You've got all of these things. And then you look at all the festivals and the cultural celebrations that can't get grants right now. You look at what's happening to the restaurants.
But what are you trying to say?
So what I'm saying
now?
Well, what I'm saying is there has to be a concrete plan in place in terms of economic recovery, and the NDP do not have that in place. Like right now, and we're sitting there guessing if restaurants can open. Well, you've got all of these restaurants going, okay, do I order food? Do I hire staff back? It's a mess. Be clear and concise in what you're trying to say. You've got, thousands of lives depending on it. But it's, they just don't have the capacity to move forward with the rollout in a really measured way.
ਸੋ ਡਾਇਨ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ NDP ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਡਿਫਰੈਂਟ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੈਨਡੈਮਿਕ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਤਿੰਨੇ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ NDP BC ਲਿਬਰਲਸ ਐਂਡ ਗ੍ਰੀਨਸ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੂਰਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡੀਲ ਕਰ ਲਈਏ ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੈਜੋਰਟੀ ਆ ਗਈ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਭੁੱਲੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਐਂਡ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਆ ਟੂਰਿਜ਼ਮ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਡਾਇਨ ਨੇ ਮੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ $2.4 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਸ਼ਟ ਡਾਊਨ ਹੋਈ ਪਈ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ ਖੋਲ ਦੇਣ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਦਾ ਪਲਾਨ ਇਨ ਪਲੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ
Well, exactly, Paji. Pandemic is something that was of utmost importance. Tinno parties ne keha we are going to put politics aside. Let's just deal with the pandemic. The biggest difference je tusi aam janta nu je dasso do responsible party kehdi hai ode te ya responsible governance ki hundi hai. What do NDP decide to do? In the midst, BC was doing good. We were keeping the COVID cases under control. Sadi curve almost bend ho gaya siga. What they decide to do, they decide to, number one, break the rule that was created actually by the Liberals ke elections 4 saalan baad hi hongiyan. No party should be able to prepone or change the date of the election exactly isse reason karke ki tusi fayda na chuk sako us cheez da. In the midst of the pandemic, rather than fighting with it and collaborating with other parties, what do they decide to do? We are mauka vadiya loki pandemic ch busy ne chalo election kara liye. They called an election. To see, look at all the numbers, look at all the graphs. We were doing really well. We had things under control. Election came and since then, look where we are now. Look at the deaths, look at the number of cases. Rose kinne hunde ne. Third wave, second wave aayi, fir third wave aayi. It's spiraling out of control. Thank God vaccinations ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਲੋਕੀ vaccinate ਹੋਣਗੇ. So the height and the biggest example of irresponsible governance is you're dealing with a pandemic and ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ worry ਕੀ ਹੈ, utmost priority ਕੀ ਹੈ, to cling to power. Right, that is what their priority was. And then obviously with as Dianne mentioned as well, ਜਦੋਂ closure ਕਰਨੇ ਸੀ, you announcing at 1 o'clock ਕਿ ਕੱਲ ਤੋਂ closures ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ. ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ 1 ਵਜੇ, I do not know tomorrow, like I find out at 1 o'clock ਕਿ ਕੱਲ I'm not going to have a job, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ bill pay ਕਰ ਪਾਵਾਂਗੀ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ. There was a long weekend ahead. I think Easter ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ restaurants had already ordered food. It all went to waste. Right, so same thing now. Are we opening, are we not opening? ਅਸੀਂ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਰੀਏ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਨਾ ਕਰੀਏ, ਆਪਣੇ staff ਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾਈਏ ਨਾ ਬੁਲਾਈਏ, ਕਿਵੇਂ ਕਰੀਏ? So ਜਿਹੜੀ competence ਹੈ, capability ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ govern ਕਰਨ ਦੀ, ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ politics ਖੇਲਣੀ smart ਹੈਗੀ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿ pandemic ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ election call ਕਰਕੇ majority ਲੈ ਲਈ, that's one thing, but to actually govern properly, because people's lives are dependent on the decisions you make. ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਅਸਲੀ ਸਵਾਲ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਵੀ which is a competent governance here.
So Dianne, my next question will be, you lost pretty much in Vancouver a lot of seats with BC Liberals. You probably guys reviewed it, seen it, why that happened, number one, why you lost like big time and they got a majority government. At the same time, you guys both from Surrey's issues, hospital still hanging around, Patalo Bridge, there is announcements for everything, Massey Tunnel, and some other issues. What are your take on why you guys lost big time, and how about these big promises?
Right. Well, I mean, they had the wrong leader. They elected the wrong leader for the last election, I'll say. But you know what? All of the projects that have been announced.
You could have handled it.
Exactly. But you know what? I mean, there was a multitude of things on that front as well. But I do want to talk about the projects because they put the Massey Tunnel on hold, and it's still on hold. The Patello, they're going to build exactly the same 4-lane bridge that's already there, only a little, to come today's standards. You look at the LNG, the investors pulled out. There's no more LNG now. And so you look at all of the major projects, they're either stalled or they're way over budget. You look at Site C, same thing, right? There's so many issues. Nothing is getting built. And this is part of the problem. The overruns are ridiculous. They're not within budget. They're not within a time frame. And you know what? You can announce 1,000 things. And the hospital for Surrey, I mean, it's been announced, and then they called the election and they announced that it was going to be in Cloverdale because they wanted Cloverdale, they wanted that seat, right? So, you know what? You can't play politics that way. You really have to look at, regardless of who has what seat, what are the best needs of the city, of the region, and plan from there. And unfortunately, it's just not being done with the NDP. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done, and these projects need to go forward, because don't forget, these are also people's jobs, and these are contracts. So the contracts are already signed, they're delayed, now you've got overruns. So you've got all of these businesses that have put everything on hold, and the supply chain, jobs, everything else. So this is part of the problem that we really need to fix with a new party and a new government.
ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਡਾਇਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲਾ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਇੰਨੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਾਰੇ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਰੀਜ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਤੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਿਗ ਪ੍ਰੋਮਿਸਿਸ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਪਟਾਲੋ ਬ੍ਰਿਜ ਹੈ, ਮੈਸੀ ਟਨਲ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੋਊਗਾ? ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਮਿਸ ਤਾਂ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਓ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਕੋਈ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੇਬਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ, ਸਾਰੇ ਓਵਰ ਬਜਟ ਹੈਗੇ. ਪੁਨੀਤ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਸੇਮ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਬਾਰੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ?
Yeah, well, exactly same. I mean, the difference is, Paji, that NDP is very good at promising, knowing we are not able to deliver this, right? Uber, look at the 2017 agenda. The big agenda was a lot of taxi drivers nu jinna nu inna ne gumrah kita. Oh, we promise you, khade ho ke bolde se, asi Uber nahi leke avange. Uber is there, ਰਾਈਟ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ 100%, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ 3.5 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਇੱਕ ਟਰਮ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਲੰਘ ਗਈ, ਨੇੜੇ ਤੇੜੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਵੀ ਡੋਨਟ ਇਵਨ ਨੋ, ਦੇਰ ਜਸਟ ਫੇਕ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟਸ, ਇਸ ਸਾਲ ਬਜਟ ਆਏਗਾ ਜੀ, ਅਗਲੇ ਸਾਲ ਆਏਗਾ, ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ oh yeah, we're building the hospital in Cloverdale because Cloverdale the seat chahiye, as Dianne mentioned.
And daycare.
Yeah, I know, you ask them for the details at Shaw Hospital. Hospital is
Another
probably
one is
just
Puneet.
100 beds or something. You don't call that a hospital, right?
What is happening to $10 daycare?
That's the question you should ask Mr. Horgan. where like, so the difference is, ਜਿਹੜੀ responsible party ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, you promise people what you know you will be able to deliver. India style ਜਾਂ ਮਾੜੀ politics style ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ just ਗੱਪਾਂ ਛੱਡੀ ਜਾਓ, oh we'll ਦਾਲ ਦੇ ਦਾਂਗੇ, ਆਟਾ ਦੇ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ, you just promise whatever you think will get you votes, and then we'll see later on how we need to deliver it, because you know you will not be able to deliver if you want to be fiscally responsible as well and at the same time deliver on all those promises, so but this is somewhere ਜਿੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡੇ voters ਨੇ, they need to be smart as well to see, do you only want to hear promises, or do you want to be able to hold people accountable towards those promises as well? ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਚੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਬੋਲ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਆਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਦੇ ਦੇਵਾਂਗੇ, okay great, these are the promises we want to hear, we'll vote for this party, or you want to give importance to a party which says this is what we think is going to be possible and we will promise that and we will make sure we deliver on that, right? ਉਹ ਵੀ huge difference ਹੈਗਾ. It's misleading. Lokandi, as Dianne said, people's jobs are at stake, people's livelihoods are at stake.
And especially to see taxi industry, Dianne, hurting big time with the tourism.
Yes.
And, I have friends in the industry and it's on a standstill.
Yeah.
And they are suffering, and they promised a lot of things before election, nothing happened yet. And so we have last 5 minutes left, Dianne, and I have 3 big issues. I don't know how you will summarize way. Opiate crisis, I think that's the next pandemic. I think it's already, we lost more people with the opioid crisis than with the COVID-19. Gang violence and mental health issues. These big, huge issues in British Columbia.
For sure, and I mean it would take an hour on each one of those. But you know what? I'm going to talk about the opioid crisis right now. What we need to do first and foremost is stop the supply from coming into Canada. We know that it's coming in from China, and the network is through Mexico. We know that. It's the research is already there, and the policing agencies are there. So we need to make sure, especially through our ports, and which is a federal issue, but they need to really beef up the ports and put the proper mechanisms in place. The border crossing, give CBSA what they need and make sure that we're dealing with that. The precursors to those drugs, so they're not making it in-house. But also too, we need to make sure that we are actually educating from a very young age, kids in school around what can happen with fentanyl. I can say probably 4 people that I know have lost children that are in their late teens, maybe 20. And it is so sad.
It is.
And and people are dying in their homes.
Yes.
So we've really
and opiate don't have any boundaries, not a race or
exactly
religion.
It doesn't matter. So I mean, we really have to deal with how we stop the influx into our country, and and the gang war. I mean, this is we've seen this. I mean, we saw it in Surrey in 2009 with all of those young kids that were getting killed, the 6 people that were shot, and and again, it's got to have a multifaceted approach, because the police can work and do what they need to do in terms of arresting people, but we also have to make sure that we're working in schools, that we've got these programs to deter kids out of that. We've got to make resilient children so they understand that this is not the lifestyle I want to have for myself or my friends. And so there's a lot of things that we can do, and most certainly I would like to see us just really ramp up some of those other programs and make sure that we have long-term results with our kids.
So Dianne, now 3 ਵੱਡੇ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਓਪੀਓਇਡ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮਰ ਰਹੇ ਯੰਗ ਪੀਪਲ. ਡਾਇਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੇ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਫਰੈਂਡਸ ਸਰਕਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 18-20 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ 3-4 ਦੀ ਡੈਥ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਓਪੀਐਡ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਨਾਲ। ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਕਸੀਕੋ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਐਂਡ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਰੋਕਥਾਮ ਲੱਗਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੈਂਗ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਆ। ਐਂਡ Puneet, you can address the same issue and we can touch upon briefly on mental health.
I would like to.
Yeah, mental health is actually another huge issue, और वो हजे आप measure नहीं कर पा रहे कि how much more impact we're going to see, because अब पिछले साल 1.5 साल the COVID the through the amount of issues we are going to see, that are going to arise related to mental health.
Both of you, the experts are saying that will be the next pandemic. Will be a mental health.
That is going to come out of this pandemic. And एक पासे ऐसे साल 1.5 साल हो गया COVID ना deal कर रहे हैं, दूसरे पासे now we have to worry about our safety and security, about the gang violence that's happening. तुसी mall च grocery land जा रहे हो या तुसी airport ते जा रहे हो, and there's these incidents happening everywhere. So and then you're also dealing with opioid and overdose crisis at the same time. So solution, it's not a one word or just one fit solution for everyone, but I think there's different pieces to this puzzle as well. एक ते you have to make sure कि ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ mentors ਹੋਣ, whether it is at home or it is at school or they or they find it through sports activities. Number 2, ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਵੀ being family members and being people around them need to be supportive, need to be involved in their lives, need to be able to make sure that we are watching them as well. ਬੱਚਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ. Number 3, ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ resources provide ਕਰਨ, whether it is policing or it is resources provided to youth or young children, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਰੈਪ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਲੀਏਜ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸੀਗੇ ਸਕੂਲਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਸ਼ਨਸ ਉਹ ਦੇ ਸਕੋ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਨੈਕਟ ਕਰ ਸਕੋ. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਵਰਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ. ਜਸਟ ਵਨ ਅਲੋਨ ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਗੋਇੰ ਟੂ ਵਰਕ. ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਸਪੈਕਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਵਰਕ ਕਰਨਗੇ. ਸੇਮ ਥਿੰਗ with opioid crisis as well. Gang violence and getting into drugs and opioid kind of related as well. And then mental health is a big reason for that. Actually more so I believe opioid crisis ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, because ਕੱਲਾ drugs ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਦਾ solution ਹੈਗਾ, but at the same time ਬਹੁਤ ਲੋਕ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ who get into these addictions because of mental health issues. Depression ਹੈ, ਥੋੜੀ ਦਵਾਈ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ they start taking more and they start taking more and then they get addicted as well. So decriminalizing is one option, ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋ ਬੰਦਾ who's doing small amounts ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ trade ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਫੜ ਲੈਣਾ, that's not a solution. The solution is ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਨੰਬਰ 2 ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਜ਼ਿਊਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕੀ ਰੀਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੰਜ਼ਿਊਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਰਾਈਟ? ਜਸਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ, the person who's actually addicted is a victim itself. That's not the person you want to catch and put behind the bars. That's a person who needs to be treated as well. So ਕੋਈ ਇੱਕ solution ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਇਕੱਠੀਆਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਗੀਆਂ, ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਬਹੁਤਾ difference create ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
So Dianne, you said talk about mental health because this is a big disease in the communities and people have to understand that this is a healthcare issue and it's happening all around us. And there is it's a lot of shame that people are not coming out of that. What is your take on that?
You know what? I mean, every family has a family member or several family members that suffer from mental health issues. It is commonplace, and I know the stigma around it is is significant, which we really as a society have to get over. But I do want to make note here, and I just want to swing back to Kevin for a second, because when I was the mayor and he was the Minister of Health, one of the things that I wanted to do was have our mental health and addictions precinct right across from Surrey Memorial Hospital. And I know without a doubt in my mind that those projects would not be here today if it wasn't for him as the Minister of Health, because he really, it was through his tenacity and his drive that really helped push those projects to get them built, and especially our sobering center. And so you have to have facilities within the community. You have to make sure that it's easily accessible to those that need it, and really let people know that it's okay to get help. Because I'll tell you this, as we come out of this pandemic, there are significant numbers and increases of people that are suffering from mental health issues.
And it's increased in the pandemic.
It's increasing. So we have to be very cognizant of how we're going to deal with this and make sure that people have the resources that they need. It's going to be very, very important. And I mean, that's number one on Kevin's list for sure.
ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਾਫੀ ਲੋਕ ਮਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਆ ਪੈਰਾਡੈਮਿਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਆ, ਸਪਾਊਸਲ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ ਵੱਧ ਗਿਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੈਲਥ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਆ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੈਂਡਲ ਕਰਨਾ। ਪੁਨੀਤ, ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਲਾਸਟ few minutes left, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਫਾਈਨਲ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਐਂਡ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸੋ ਵੀ ਕੈਵਨ ਦਾ ਕੰਪੇਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ viewers are ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ share ਕਰੋ।
Well, yeah, just like any other good campaign, and to begin with, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, it's a very diverse campaign. Kevin ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ campaign 'ਚ make sure ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ diversity ਹੋਵੇ, inclusion ਹੋਵੇ, more women participation ਹੋਵੇ, and going forward, because a leadership campaign ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, so the main goal is going to be membership ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ connect ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। membership ਦੇ ਨਾਲ connect ਕਰਨਾ not just means to we members go ਜਾਓ and ask them for their vote, but it also means to try and talk to them to understand where they are at this moment, ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕੀ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਉਹ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਤੋਂ, what do they expect from a leader, what do they expect from a party। ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਓਪਨ ਕਨਵਰਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣਾ, ਰਿਸੈਪਟਿਵ ਹੋਣਾ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਕੋ ਜਾਣਾ, ਮਿਲਣਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ। ਆਪਾਂ ਲੀਡਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਉਹੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਭਾਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਰਾਈਟ। ਸੋ ਦਿਸ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਇਜ਼ ਗੋਇੰ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਫੋਕਸਡ ਅਰਾਊਂਡ ਦੈਟ। ਰੀਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਸ਼ੋਰ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਕੈਵਨ ਬਿਕਮਸ ਦ ਲੀਡਰ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਟ ਐਵਰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਇਜ਼ ਗੈਦਰਡ ਫਰਮ ਦਿਸ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਕੇ, ਦੈਟ ਗਿਵਸ ਅਸ ਐਨ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਵੀ ਆਮ ਜਨਤਾ, ਵੋਟਰਸ ਕੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ। ਹਾਊ ਕੈਨ ਵੀ ਦੈਨ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਵਨਸ ਹੀ ਬਿਕਮਸ ਦ ਲੀਡਰ ਆਫ ਦ ਪਾਰਟੀ, ਕਿ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਲੈਟਫਾਰਮ 'ਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਇੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਲੈਕਟ ਹੋਣਗੇ, ਜੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਬਣਦੇ ਨੇ, ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ BC ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਗਵਰਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਲਾਸਟ ਫਿਊ ਮਿਨਟਸ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੀ ਹਾਂ, I always say that ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸ਼ੋਅ 'ਤੇ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ we all, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਹੈ, the duty is not just on the campaign team. The duty is not just on the government. The duty is not just always just on the leader to govern and to do well. The duty is of the public and of the voters, of the citizens just as much. Aware hovo, jao baar, ਪੜ੍ਹੋ, be informed, see what's happening। ਦੇਖੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੌਣ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਰੇਸ 'ਚ ਇਨਵੋਲਵਡ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਏਜੰਡਾਜ਼ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਟਰਾਈ ਟੂ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਇਟ yourself। ਆਪਣਾ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ, you'll try to get some information, ਤਦ ਹੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਇਨਫੋਰਮਡ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸੋ because we are Kevin's co-chairs, ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਚਾਹਾਂਗੇ that everybody votes for him and makes him the leader of the party, but democratically, everyone you should still read up, get information on all the candidates and see what you want, and we're always there. Contact karo sanu, let us know what you would expect from a leader and what you want, and if you want to connect with Kevin and want to hear from him, we would want to, we would love to create that bridge for people as well.
Dianne, your final comments, how you're going to shape up this campaign for Kevin, and your final comments.
Well, I'm very excited about this campaign because, as Puneet has said, this is very diverse, not and age-wise as well. We've got some very young folks in there. We've got some older ones, and we've got a significant amount of diversity. But what is really important here? It's about coming together, and it's about making sure that we have the opportunity to engage. And that's one of the biggest things that any campaign or any party can do, is really engage with our citizenry and to really ask them, what is it that you need? We're here to serve you. It's not the other way around. And I think we have to always remember that at the end of the day. And so I know that Kevin's going to be a great leader. I've seen it over 25 years that I've known him, and I look forward to him winning the leadership race and becoming the next premier of the province.
ਸੋ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਕੋ-ਚੇਅਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਕੈਵਨ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੰਪੇਨ ਹੈ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਦਾ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੋਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਸਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਦਿਓ, at the end, thank you both of you. You are both busy, accomplished ladies, and agreeing
you.
and coming and sharing your view. We will invite you again. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
us. Thank
ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਪੁਨੀਤ ਸੈਂਡਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਲੋਇਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਐਕਟਿਵਿਸਟ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡਾਇਨ ਵਾਰਡਸ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਮੇਅਰ ਐਂਡ ਫਾਰਮਰ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ। ਕੈਵਨ ਦੇ ਕੰਪੇਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਕੋ ਚੇਅਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ। ਸੋ ਡਾਇਵਰਸਿਟੀ Puneet is Sikh and a lawyer and a female, both are female, so that's a good indication to start with. So ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਰਹੂਗੀ। ਨੈਕਸਟ ਵੀਕ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਗੈਸਟ ਹਨ ਕੈਵਨ ਫਾਲਕਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੀ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਊਗੀ। ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਟਿਊਨ ਇਨ ਨੈਕਸਟ ਥਰਸਡੇ। It's May 27th. Kevin will be my guest. You can again ask him questions. As always, my phone lines are open. Thank you for watching. Dhanwad. Stay safe. We're not out of the woods yet. It will be a long weekend. No parties, no big gatherings, social distancing, wear your mask, take care, stay in your bubble. So ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਛੇਤੀ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੈਲੀਬ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਰੱਬ ਰੱਖਾ। Have a wonderful, safe, healthy weekend.